welcome to the Glazov gang. Tonight, Nonie Darwish, the author of The Devil We Don't Know. Nonie, welcome to the program.
Oh, hi, Jamie, my pleasure. Always a pleasure.
We are in very serious times. The Charlie Hebdo massacre, let's begin with that.
Yeah, well, it keeps happening. It's since 9/11, we've seen that in the UK, in France. On New Year, they always burn cars, and so terrorism is all over the world now. And it's something that the West have to face head on, but I don't think the West is ready or pretending not to. I'm not sure what is. A lot of people are frustrated, Jamie, because the West is in denial. And I'm not sure what's the strategy, really. What's the strategy of the West? Is there a strategy that we have? Because we appear so disunited. Islam is looking at the West, and they see people who don't want to fight, who are not interested in even recognizing there is a problem. And we're fighting amongst each other. Islam attacks everybody. Their books attack us, and we're not allowed in the West to attack that book that condemns us to death. The Koran itself is full of verses that are very violent, not only violent, but very critical of whole groups of people. Whole groups of people are condemned to death in the Quran. By who? By the Allah of the Quran. The Allah of Islam is telling the followers of Islam to go, in order to go to heaven, in order for a Muslim to go to heaven, they have to kill the enemies of Allah. That's basically the whole, the most important aspect of the Quran. Really, is 64% of the Quran is speaking about the enemies of Allah. And Allah, the God of the Quran, is asking his followers to please kill these enemies for me in order to go to heaven. And the other leftover 46% of the Quran is about what kind of heaven we're going to send you to after you kill the enemies of Allah. This is a very convoluted way to regard God. The God of Islam is waiting for his followers to avenge him. This is so different from the Bible, where vengeance is mine. According to the Bible, God does not want his followers, the followers of the Bible, to avenge him for any reason. He's capable of taking care of his own problems. God is above that in the Bible. The God of Islam is rewarding his followers with heaven. The only way you can go to heaven as a Muslim is to avenge the God, Allah, by killing his enemies. And the strangest part about that is the Muslim people are very intelligent people. They don't even see that. And then the West continues this strange ideology by accepting it. And Europe, all of Europe now is, they've criminalized any kind of criticism of Islam. This has become a crime in France. It's a crime in many areas in Europe to criticize the book of Islam. how can we not criticize a book that already condemns us to death? Actually, it's we, non-Muslims, who should sue that book for encouraging violence against us, non-Muslims. The Jewish people have a claim against the Quran. This is, the Quran actually is a book of promotion of violence. Legally speaking, the Quran has committed a crime against humanity. And the West, which is, the people in the West are so easy to go and sue, liability. We all understand the concept of liability. We all understand the concept of encouraging violence. Screaming, according to our constitution, if you yell fire in a theater, this is negligence. You've caused hurting to people. The Quran is in itself encouraging violence, making it a holy act. And we are not allowed to criticize that book. The people of the West who fought many wars for the sake of freedom. What was World War II about? It was about freedom against tyranny. Why did all these millions of people die? In Europe and in America and Japan and Southeast Asia, North Africa. All these people died because they wanted to preserve their freedom. And here is Islam coming to Europe, and Europe is making the Quran immune to criticism under penalty of jail and fines. Well, the Quran calls Jews apes and Christians pigs. It entrusts its followers to please kill those groups of people. And the Quran is held at a protected status in Europe. The Quran is protected against criticism in Europe. How can that be when the Quran condemns me to death? How can this book have more rights than the human beings around that book? How can any free government protect a book that's constantly condemning people to death and give a book the right to be protected from criticism when that book condemns me now to death?
Nonie, very profound words, and what is very frightening is that we're actually a few even steps behind that on the realm that we have a president who every time the Boko Haram and Al-Qaeda and ISIS and the murderers of the Charlie Hebdo journalists and Nidal Hassan and the Tsarnaev brothers, etc., he gets up and he says, this is not Islam, and no faith preaches or condones violence and killing. And this is simply a lie. Because what you have just said, people can't get upset at what you're saying because you're simply repeating what is in the Quran. You're informing people of what's in there. Your thoughts on Obama and how he represents this denial in our culture, in our leadership.
When Obama came to office, when people said, oh, he's a Muslim, I really didn't believe it. I thought, this man is probably a socialist who has sympathies towards Islam because his father was Muslim. But I never thought that Obama is acting like a moderate Muslim would act. if you talk to the so-called moderate Muslims are the enablers of radical Islam. They are the enablers. Without the protection of moderate Muslims to the actions of radical Islam could not exist. And in reality, there is nothing called radical Islam and moderate Islam, because there is no Quran that's moderate and another Quran that's radical. If there were two Qurans, I will agree that there is something called moderate Quran and radical Quran. There's only one Quran, and there's only one Quran that is extremely radical. The Quran is a book about hate. It's a book filled with hate, slander, acceptance of murder.
But Nonie, let me interrupt for a minute. I want to switch back a little bit to what you wanted to say about Obama
Yeah.
and his, I would say, strategy of deflection
Oh,
and of denial.
absolutely.
What's going on there?
Obama was the first black president in the United States. What was his first mission, his first most important speech after he took office? He didn't go to speak to the African Americans who are disfranchised in America, the youth who feel that they are so encouraged by seeing a black president, and it's a new day. He didn't call for the unity of America. As the first black leader, that should have been number one in his book. That was not number one in his book.
He went to Cairo.
What he did was he went to Cairo to speak to the Muslim world. His heart was not inside America. Obama's heart is protecting Islam from any kind of blasphemy, which really tells me a lot.
Nonie, Mubarak, to the best of my memory, did not want to attend because
didn't attend.
In the front two rows, Obama wanted reserved for the Muslim Brotherhood.
Absolutely.
Why would you do that?
Because Obama, I truly believe that without Obama, we wouldn't have ISIS now. ISIS could never have grown that fast, taken over Syria and Iraq, if Obama was not in office. The radical Islam is in a race right now to accomplish their mission before Obama's out of office.
And he is facilitating?
I believe he is. When he came to office, he didn't just go and speak to the Muslim Brotherhood. Obama hired Dalia Mujahid, who is, her last name Mujahid, it means the jihadist. That's the word Mujahid. It means the jihadist. She's an Egyptian. Actually, she came here when she was very young. She was, I'm not sure, born in America, or her parents brought her when she was just a child. And so she's very eloquent. She speaks with assertion. And she's a Muslim Brotherhood.
Nonie,
She's a Muslim Brotherhood sympathizer, and that's whom he chose to be his right hand when it comes to Islam.
Yeah,
He
well, they had
chose
Muhammad Ali Biari
Biari.
in there. They had
He
all
chose
kinds of Muslim
the
brothers.
Muslim Brotherhood. Ever since he came to office, CARE has been very influential. The radical Islam flourished.
Well, look, in the Holy Land Foundation.
It flourished in Egypt. The Muslim Brotherhood took over Egypt right after he spoke. After he spoke in Cairo to the Muslim Brotherhood, who were in his audience, and left, he empowered the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt.
Absolutely. And Nonie, what I was going to say is in the Holy Land Foundation trial, Kerr was found to be an unindicted conspirator. And it was the responsibility of the Justice Department to go after those Muslim Brotherhood front groups. It was proven that they were front groups in the explanatory memorandum, etc. And the Obama administration never went after those Muslim Brotherhood front groups.
No, no. Obama is going to protect Islam with every part of his heart, mind, and soul.
We got 2 years left. How much damage can he do?
Oh, you're going to see very rapid growth of Al-Qaeda in the Middle East and ISIS. They will probably take over Yemen very soon. I predict Yemen.
With Obama's help. Overall, you're saying whether it's direct, indirect, etc., this is in his interest. This is in Obama. He's trying to help the enemies of the United States.
Actually, I think he empowered radical Islam in the Middle East and in Western Europe and in America. And it's going to be very hard to undo it. I think it's up, it's God's will. We are saved from what Obama has done to our country, and not just to our country, but to Egypt. Egypt was taken over after Obama spoke and honored. He didn't only speak to the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, he honored them.
Right. Nonie, I'm sorry, our time is up. It's an honor and a privilege to have you here, and thank you so much for being a bold and courageous truth teller about these things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. You are just you expose this, one of the few people who expose this.
Thank you.
And I appreciate what you do.
Thank you, Nonie. And we're entering very scary times. We'll see you next week on the Glazov Gang. Good night.